Welcome to the Japji Sahib podcast. In this episode, we'll be going through the 38th stanza blessed to us by Guru Nanak Dev Ji. In this stanza, the analogy of a goldsmith and making gold has been used to help us to go through the steps of what is required for self-realization, famously known as know thyself. Many people talk about and ask this question, what is my authentic self? But we still get stuck in the layers of personality. But through this pauri, this stanza, through this step, it'll help us to get closer to that essence, that true self, what we call that authentic self. So let's get straight into it. Let's say a fateh to our guest today, Indra Kaur. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So the first line here, Guru Nanak Dev Ji sets the scene. Like I said, that the analogy that Guru Sahib is using, an analogy that will be very close to your understanding, more so to you because it's something that you have understood and gone through that process. So which will be then more real for you, which is making gold. And so Guru starts off with saying, Jat Pahara, Tiraj Sunayar. And I'm sure you've grown up hearing the word Sunayar or Sunayara quite often in your life. So the first thing the Guru draws to our attention is Jat and then Pahara. Pahara can be translated to a workshop. So whenever we're going to do something, it helps if we have a space, a focused space, a dedicated space where we can start doing that work. And I don't know about you, don't know about how you work. I think I've got an idea that when you're going to do any work, when you're about to do something and you're going to put something together, do you like to have things very organized and do you like to have a dedicated space? Or are you someone that will just start however and whatever?
Now thinking about it, I do struggle to just work from anywhere. I mean, I am quite flexible because as a social worker, you tend to be agile. You go from one place to the other. Saying that, when I'm working on the laptop, I do like to sit at a table. I like it to be clear around me and I have certain things in place so that when I'm doing my work, I can do it efficiently. In the same way, when I'm in the kitchen, it's got to be a clean space. I've got to know where my things are, similarly to that of a goldsmith. And when you were talking about that, I had very vivid visions of what that workshop would look like.
Mm. And essentially what we're talking about there is creating a focus and having a focus towards one direction that you are working towards. So even if you're cooking, you've got a focus then. And your focus is you're going to create that product, that piece of food, the end of it, knowing where everything is laid out, how you've got everything set up. Guru Nanak is saying if we are to work on ourselves, to know the true self, what we are at the core, where Guru Nanak gives us many examples of this, the famous line, Man, tu jot surup hai, apna mool pachan. It talks about pachan, to recognize your mool, your very essence of where you have come from. And it's talking to the mind because the mind can often get very anxious and start becoming very scattered. And the mind can get very caught up in worldly possessions and relations. So it's helping the mind to settle and saying, do you even remember who you really are? It's saying, Tu Jot Swaroop hai. This is who you really are. Your Swaroop, your actual form is the light, the very light itself where we have all come from. Apana mool pachan, recognize that your own origin of where you have come from. Kaho Kabir, Yoho Ram ki ants. What's your ants? You know what ants is? You know when we say anch bants, you know what that ants is?
Like your background.
Yeah, your background, your lineage. But again, so when we say your background and lineage, what do you think? What comes to your mind first? Without trying to give me the religious answer.
I thought about my family, my parents. I thought about India, the bend, all the images that are stored in my brain.
And then, so that's similar to then when Guru Nanak Dev Ji were establishing Sakhi of Kartarpur Sahib. And there were a few people that came forward to give to donate or to offer their land to Guru Nanak Dev Ji. And Guru Nanak saw that when one of these two people came forward, Guru Nanak saw that there's still a lot of this, home which ditta, home which laya, that there's a lot of ego in the giving. So Guru Nanak, and this is the husband of Dodorani, so Dodorani was who was just blown away with Guru Nanak Dev Ji's darshan as they would sit and sing. And when they was sitting here in where now they're going to establish this place, Guru Nanak knew exactly what they were doing when they were sitting here and singing away. And Dodorani would be sitting in her swing made in between two trees. And you can just visualize that swing made in between two trees, and should be swinging away. And her husband had gone away for work. And she would sit there and she was trying to figure out her life. She's just gotten married and he's away at work. And, when you are trying to find yourself again, you're not sure what your role is, your identity. And she's lost in thought and she's on this swing. And all of a sudden she hears a sound, and it was the sound of a rabab. Not really being familiar with that sound. And then she sees that there's two people sitting there quite a distance to her. They're sitting in this jungle area, so outside of the town. And she hears this beautiful voice. And she, for one moment, she actually thought she had fallen asleep and she's dreaming, because it just seemed too good to be reality. And then she's thinking that, am I actually imagining this? And she had this amazing thought. She had this thought that, I lost that innocence that I used to have as a child. Life just became so serious after getting married. And she remembered back to when her mother used to tell her about angels. And she thought, and this is the way Bhaiguru Singh writes about it, and she starts to think that a time came in her life when everything became so black and white. And life was just all right. I'll make the food, I'll clean, and this is it. She said, I stopped believing in angels. I stopped believing in anything outside of me. Just go and get the milk, go and do this, go and do that. And I lost that beauty of that childlike innocence of living in this amazing world where you see the clouds to be a picture and a face. Do you remember doing that?
Still do it.
You still do it? There you go. At least some of us don't lose that. She's like, I can't believe I lost that. And she said, seeing these two now, she starts to see this daily. So this is now she's there third day, fourth day. And she's like, what are they made out of? They must be the angels that my mother used to tell me about, because they're sitting there with so much contentment. And normally you would see these so-called religious people, and really what they are interested in is your money and what they can take from you. But they sat there so content and just singing. So she said, I want to go and see if they're real. So she walks across one of the days and she sits there, waits for the kirtan to be done. And one of the first questions she asks is, are you real? Tusi sachi de? And Guru Nanak laughs. And they said, Tusi dekh lo. And you have a look for yourself. And they said, Asi tadde varge hi hain, we're just like you. They said, she said, you're not like me. She says, you're definitely not like me. And eventually she goes to get them some milk, and she asks, like, would you like some milk? And Guru Nanak Dev Ji is just smiling, content. And Mardana Ji said, look, just in case he says no, there's an opportunity before he says anything. Yes, we'd like some milk, thank you. I'm not missing out on this opportunity. And she runs home, she makes them milk. And every day she starts to bring them milk. And she would sit there listening to Kirtan. And as they do, people start talking in the town, saying that she goes to see these two men in the jungle. So her husband comes back from wherever he had gone for work, and people start filling his ears. So there's a line where in Asadi WhyGuru talks about Kanni Sutak Kan Pa Lai Itbari Khahe. So Kanni Sutak, your kan become impure when kan pa, when something goes into your ear. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਾ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਜੋ ਗੱਲ ਕੰਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਈ ਤਾਂ ਬਸ ਕੰਨ ਹੁਣ ਗੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ. They became impure now. ਕੀ ਗਿਆ ਕੰਨ ਵਿੱਚ? What went into your ear? Lai itbari. Lai itbari is, what is it?
Slander.
It's gossip. But this defines what gossip is, this word. So it comes from the word itbar. And then it's got the word lie. So it's when you hear something about somebody and you completely alter now, not just the way you see them, that's not the point here, but it's the way you now treat them. Because your faith towards them, the way you perceive them now has completely altered because of what somebody has fed you. Kahe. So, question to you, do you eat much gossip?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Yes, the ears do hear lots of impure things.
And can you then think of, so it's your ears become impure when they hear gossip. And then, so gossip is, it may be true, it may not be, but it's the intent that it's done in, where you have no intention of helping the situation. It's just literally time pass. You're just chatting about somebody for the sake of chatting about somebody, because you don't know, you have no other focus in life. Yeah.
I mean, if you're asking me, the truth is I try and be careful with who I talk to, how much I talk, how much I listen. And I am genuinely quite careful. If we are talking about someone or a certain situation, the conversation will genuinely end with, okay, so why were we talking about this and what are we going to do about it? So where is it going? But whilst you were talking, I was reflecting, and the truth is, it doesn't matter whether it's truth or not, but if your perception has changed and then your actions towards that person has changed
in a negative way,
and it may be that you're protecting yourself.
That's different.
But your actions have changed because you're protecting yourself and you no longer want to be around a certain person. Then would that be the same thing?
So I would say it's a fine line here, because it's if you don't take the time to possibly clear out and become sure of the context and to find out and have a potential difficult conversation with somebody to find out the absolute truth, somebody's intent. And then, but sometimes we're just speaking about people in such an idle fashion where there is no intent to try and bring some form of awareness to ourselves, which may then help us in a situation. But instead, when it's what you end up doing now in your life. It's what it's become, where you now just have no focus. And I keep using the word focus because we're going to go back to that in a moment. So it's when your itbar, your trust towards them completely breaks. But remember, they could have just had a little blip. It might have just taken a conversation. And I'm as I speak about this, every time I speak about Gurbani, I'm constantly reminding myself these lessons. So as I'm saying this, it's reminding me right now of certain actions I can take to reach out to certain people to further clarify certain things. So it's a constant reminder, isn't it? Where instead, where your trust completely breaks towards somebody and you start treating them in a negative way, and then there's some sort of even bitter feeling left there. And like I said, I'm talking to myself. This is for me first, before anyone else. So anyway, this is what happened to him, to Dodorani's husband. So he starts, he said, I'm going to catch her out to see what she's doing. So he starts to come along to where the satsang was happening, and they would just do kirtan and have milk. Literally, that's all that would happen. And they would share some wise words and wisdom. And Bachan Maharaj ji karde hunde sige. Obviously, I'm sure Mardana ji would say a few things too, keeping everything nice and light. And he'd been there a few days and he's thinking, I don't know, nothing odd is happening here. On one of the days, Maharaj just turned around and said, tell him to come and drink some milk with us as well. He was hiding behind a tree thinking nobody knew. So Maharaj goes, Enu vi layo. And she's like, Kenu? She didn't know he had been coming. So she, Kenu? Maharaj goes, jada drakht de piche lukya firda. The one that's hiding behind the tree for last few days. ਐਵੇਂ ਤੰਗ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਨਾਲੇ ਤਾਂ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਸੁਣ ਲਵੇ ਨਾਲੇ ਤਾਂ ਦੁੱਧ ਵੀ ਛਕ ਲਵੇ ਨਾਲੇ he can actually listen to the kirtan sitting on the floor and he can drink milk with us. And he saw Maharaj and he said Bakshalo, like, just forgive me. And he says, let me do something now, let me give you something. And Maharaj kende das ki dena hai, what do you want to give? He started off with the home which ditta, this, like, from this place of ego that I'm going to give this. Maharaj ji soon changed that for him. Maharaj ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਦੱਸ ਕੀ ਦੇਣਾ, ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਦੇਣੀ ਆ, like I want to give you some land, ਹਨਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਵਧੀਆ ਇੱਥੇ ਰੰਗ ਲੱਗੇ ਆ, like you want to do kirtan here. Maharaj said, okay. Maharaj said, who does it belong to? We spoke about that family, spoke about that lineage, and we spoke about what do you think about when you think about origin, when you think about your aunts. Kabir said, hana, kaho Kabir, ਇਹੋ ਰਾਮ ਕੀ ਅੰਸ ਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਅੰਸ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਯੂ ਲਿਨੇਜ is ਰਾਮ. ਐਂਡ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਅੱਛਾ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿਹਦੀ ਹੈ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ? ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮੇਰੀ ਆ, ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਮ ਆ ਕਾਗਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੇ. And he thought, Maharaj thinking, and he said, it's mine, I've got my name on it. And he thought that Maharaj didn't trust him and thought he's just going to give somebody else's land away. He goes, I can show you the paperwork. And Maharaj said, and then whose name was on it before? And he thought, he's proper doing investigation. He thought maybe like, he's some sort of land person guy that is trying to find out what's going on here. And he's like, then he named his father. He goes, Sade Pitaji di hundi sigi. Maharaj kende, acha. And Maharaj kende, menu lagda Kartar di a. And he said, nahi nahi, sade parivar vich koi hai nahi Kartar. And he goes, nobody Kartar in my family. And he goes, Maharaj kende fir dasi ja, keep telling us. And then he's like, my grandfather's name's this, and then a great grandfather's name's this, and then he got stuck. Maharaj, and then Maharaj goes, keep going, keep going. He's like, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਆ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਕਰਤਾਰ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ. He goes, maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe you do know and you've done your research, because I can only go that far back. But if I go further back, maybe there is somebody called Kartar and you've done research more than me and you actually know my actual lineage. Maharaj goes, हाँ Kartar di aaye, meri nahi kehni. Maharaj said, don't say mine. Don't say I am giving you this. They said, because if you keep going back, even right now, who made that soil? Kenne banaiya ye dharti. Maharaj kehne sat kartar, karta purkh. Kehne oh ek purkh hai, ede vich dharti de vich samaya hoya. There's a purkh, which is that being that is embedded in each molecule, in each part of this soil is karta. Maharaj kehne karte diya. Kabir mera mujh mein kich nahi, jo kich hai so tera, tera tujhko saunp de kya lage mera. Kehne ke ਇਹ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਆ ਬਸ ਜੋ ਉਹਦਾ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਹੀ ਦੇ ਰਿਹਾ ਆ. Whatever belongs to that one, I'm giving back to that one. And people that are still stuck in the Trayaguna, that's stuck in that, even if you're in Satogun, in the higher Guna, you are saying that you become giving, but you're still saying, I am giving. Guru Nanak said, nahi, go to Chautha Pad, go to that fourth state that is outside of the Trayaguna. They said, hun langa liya apni zindagi, you've gone past that. Sutya rain vihani. That you've been asleep your life. You've passed this life asleep. Now wake up out of these Trayaguna and come to that place. That Tehi guni sansar. Param sutta. Sutya rain vihani. Now realize the truth. What is your truth? Who does this Jameen really belong to? And he said, Sachi Kartar diya. Maharaj kehinde tahi te eda naam Kartarpur pauga fe. This place will be known as Kartarpur. And that's our answer. The moment we hear this question, where do you come from? Kitho paje keh rahe keh mahe samahe. Kitho paje? Where have you truly come from? What have you been born out of? Keh rahe, where are you right now? Are you stuck in those Trayaguna? Are you stuck in that atom thinking that's all I am? Or have you woke up and know your essence? This is what this pauri is about. Going back to that answer. And Maharaj says, to start that work, Jat Pahara, you need a workshop. And that workshop is Jat. You make the workshop. Making the workshop is Jat. Jat means self-control. Another way to word Jat is having a focus in life. Not being aimless. If you have a focus, if you have a destination in mind, then you will not walk aimlessly. If you want to walk from here, and you find out there's a Kirtan program happening at the Gurdwara, you have a destination in mind. You then set off for your journey. You're now focused. That's being Jati. That's having Jat. When you've got a focus because you want to get there, then within that, there's a natural sacrifice that takes place in becoming Jati. Because behind, you are leaving your kambal, your comforts, your blankets, your TV, your hot drink, everything. In having a focus in life, there is natural sacrifice. But the sacrifice that you are making, because jati means to have self-control over the senses, you are sacrificing the short-term pleasure of your senses because you've got a much bigger focus in life that you are walking towards. Now, you will not get lost. Now you will not be lured and pulled in where your life is aimless and constantly, where Guru Sahib says that itne ras sareer ke keh kat naam nivas. Ke you have so many ras, you are so taken in by these pleasures. It's because you forgot your focus. Your destination, your focus towards your destination isn't even there anymore. Hence, what would you say for you can at times throw you off your focus and destination in life? What certain pleasures would you say come in your way? I'll give you an example. If we were truly focused on wanting to know our essence, our true self, a great way to practice to get closer and have a glimpse of the true self is early in the morning. To take time out, having that cool shower or cold shower, cool, lukewarm, let's say, and sitting. That sitting in that moment seems hard. So it might be in one sense pain to leave your bed. But that pain is helping you work towards your destination. So that is truly dukkdaru. But then the pleasure becomes, I want to have time out and watch and eat something late at night. For the short term, which is the comfort and the pleasure, that happens when we don't have jat, when we don't have our destination and focus towards that, which the choices along way to that destination might be at first some level of pain. But actually in as a bigger picture is sukh, is going towards bliss, a bliss that you've never known through these pleasures. See how this Jat Pahara works now? Do you want to share anything?
No.
So Jat Pahara. Now you've got your destination in mind. You're focused. And even if you do dip into a bit of pleasure, you haven't forgot your focus. You come back. But if you've got no destination, you will go into a little pleasure. And that could be for somebody some form of lustful pleasure. Or it might be certain foods. But then imagine if you go into that little jungle and think, ooh, this is nice. But then you go deeper and deeper and deeper into that jungle. And now your life becomes aimless when people start to then question, what's the point? Fall into deep depression. What's my purpose? And they forget even what the possibilities were. Now it's just jumping from pleasure to pleasure to pleasure to pleasure. And they feel lost, just completely lost. And that's the danger of that path. Without having a destination to work towards, of that knowing the self. Knowing the self, we all go through pain. I'm not talking about suffering here, but pain. getting up in the morning, for example, could be seen as a level of pain. Somebody's going through pain consciously and somebody's going through it unconsciously. So many people are just seeking comfort and pleasures. And some people, but that in of itself, on the box it says happiness, sukh. But what it doesn't tell you, that pleasure, you open that box and inside it's saying, hello, I'm actually dukh. Sukh mangat. Dukh aage avat. You've asked for the sukh, but actually what's come out of it is dukh. Because if you look at the slok, janamangta maranang harkangta sogang pogangta rogang, you get stuck into pog, into these pleasures, pogangta rogang. Your life will just be rog, disease.
It's just reminded me of when you go to somebody's gathering, like event, or somebody's house, or there's a celebration, and it's a lot less now, but it is still amongst the majority of families out there. They will give you a mithai da dabba or a chocolate box, and if you're asleep, you would accept it and you'd consume it, and you would think, oh wow, like let's open it and let's eat it and let's enjoy the sweetness of it. But if you look at what we are just talking about, actually it's rog, it's going to cause suffering. And I think, just separate to this, we should bring out an awareness that let's not share these things. Instead, let's look at what we are giving to the other person and what it's going to do for that person, and maybe choose a different gift.
What would you like to receive instead?
Oh, I'd love to receive some nuts would be good. Yeah, a nice bag of nuts.
Unsalted nuts.
Unsalted, yeah, or some fruit.
Coming back to that main destination.
Sorry, I have a question too.
Yes.
That's okay. Because you're talking about destination and goal. I know everybody has the same destination eventually, but we all have goals and things that we want to reach within this life. You may or you may not know that. But for you, what is your destination in this body?
I think just after so much contemplation, and I know you're asking on, like, even within this lifetime, within this world, what is it really? What type of things or practical things would I like to achieve? And I would like to say that at some level, there's many things that have already been achieved, whether that being setting up some services to provide to the community. It's not like that those things aren't already happening. But if you asked my heart, the true longing is har darshan ko mera man bahut tapte, jo trikhavant bin neer, that it's to know the self and never to come back out of it. It's to be in that state of Sahaj Anand, Base Bairagi, to become a Bairagi, where I go beyond the roller coaster of the colors of life that take you on, but to become Sahaj and to become completely conscious and have darshan of Parmeshwar, and then hold the hands of others to take them to that place. So there's something that keeps going back to that. If I think of goals in regard to anything within this world, and then whatever services continue to come out of that. Everything else is secondary, because when you show up as that person, then you're going to do wonders for the world. Because only then truly are you going to truly be serving. And I don't mean to just have a moment of a glimpse of that, but to be there for good and never return. Miliya hoye na vichhade. Je miliya hoye. That jo har kant malaiyan se vichhad kat hai nahe. Of just, that's it, then no return. You're in that ocean. Nadiya ate va pavah samund na janiye. Until we don't know that essence at all times, we're prone to causing so much damage. So,
Thank you.
Jat Pahara. Tiraj Sunyar. And if you now take the Sunyar, the actual goldsmith, and you would know from growing up helping your mother making certain ornaments out of actual gold, how much patience was needed.
A lot. Time, focus. Because if your dhyan goes, of an example, if that's okay. So once we had made the gold and purified it, I remember making a gold chain, and it was one of them chains that lock in like that. So it locks in, and then you have another one, and it locks in, and that lock, you would have to put a tanka on there. You know what tanka is?
Tanka is when you solder with heat two parts together.
Yeah, but you would have to solder it so that you're not joining it together. It would have to be this join and that join, but there would still have to be movement.
You wouldn't even think.
And the whole chain was made like that. And if your dhyan, your focus went out, that would mean that jut pe janda si. A jut is when it's stuck. And that was hard then, because you'd have to then redo the whole bit.
That link,
yeah. So the patience was huge. And I remember we used to have this patti, and like one chain would literally be like that. And it would take days just to make one chain.
That's crazy. And patience is a huge thing on this path, because we think it's taking too long, and then we end up getting distracted again. And we just think it's okay. We're here in this world for all these pleasures, and then you're lost again. That's it. It's stuck, and then you're having to start again. You know, like you said, the link, it's stuck, and then you start again. How focused are you really to know the only authentic self is our core nature? And our core nature is love, but not this little emotional or a lust, or it's love at its purest, which looks upon all as one. How focused are we to go back to that home? So Tiraj is whatever you are doing, when you are serving, when you are sitting whatever practice you are doing, having patience and showing up. Keep showing up and keep showing up and start breaking through the distractions of this world. Airan Mat Ved Hathiaar. I love this one. So I don't know if you've gone through the process of making different ornaments. This is now making ourselves. So do you remember then having an Airan, which was the anvil? You do?
Yeah,
okay.
so that same chain would require the Airan and the hammer.
Oh wow, okay.
So you used to have this plank and it used to have like lines and you'd have to slot the links into there. Then you'd use this tool to basically flatten the chain. So it'd be flat, and then you'd use the hammer. But
Is that how it's still made, or have they
this
now?
was one particular chain that my mum was really famous for.
And even this, you're probably talking about 20 years ago, making this 20, 25 years ago.
Oh, I was like probably 13, 14 at the time.
Okay.
But even with the hammer, you'd have to be so careful because when you'd hammer it, if you got a line within the link and it ruined the link, my mum would go like, what have you done? So she'd say, do it lightly once to just check that you've placed the tool in the right way and then put the pressure on the second time.
So here, the Airan Mat is our mat, is our general understanding of life when we get stuck in this cycle. So that cycle, our mat might tell us, you know what, be careful because of what they did to you. It's okay to hate on them. I actually read a post a few months ago saying that, it's really toxic if you're feeling bitter or resentment towards somebody because of what somebody's done to you. It's okay to hold on to that, be real. And I thought, wow, we end up living in a little bubble, but not realizing there's so much other type of advice that is given to somebody. Of course, don't be untruthful to yourself. If that's what you are feeling in this moment, that's what you are feeling in this moment. But it doesn't mean we want to stay there. Us not staying there, Airan Mat Ved Hathiaar. We need the hammer of the Ved, of divine knowledge. And that divine knowledge comes to us through taking on a Pura Guru, a Sat Guru, a Guru that is one with that divine and has the essence, the true wisdom of what it takes for us to be in that state of bliss. So for example, I've been experiencing this. You could, in the day, you might have gone through something's happened and you feel a bit off towards someone or something. And it might not be major, it might not be long term, might not be this chronic resentment you're holding on to for somebody, but it might be something's just happened in the day. And then you feel quite off towards that person and there's negative feelings coming up for that person. And what I've realized recently is it doesn't matter how tired you are, even if you're lacking sleep, if you show up in the morning or in the evening, in the morning, and you sit down and you take the Guru's hammer and give your mat, your now current understanding that has altered just because of an episode that you had the day before, and you're bringing up some like this horrible negative feeling towards somebody, you open yourself up and you let the Guru's hammer give you a good smack, which then the Guru will say, Nirvar, Nirvar. It's like a hammer, isn't it? Saying Nirvar, Nirvar, nirvair. And then you're thinking, ki ho gaya? And you sometimes don't want to let go of that. What I then do myself personally, and even if we're doing it together as a collective sangat, we'll say, okay, let's take a moment now of vava, vair na kariye kahu, kat andar brahm samahu. That if you want to get to the kat antar, if you want to get to the core, to your mool, this is what this pauri is about, then Brahm Samahu, to get to the one that is immersed in everything, you cannot stay stuck here because var na kariyeka. Because var is a different nature to your essence. Var, that little bitterness clings on to your ego. Ego then opposes that true naam. The naam meaning the nature of that one home nave nal virodh hai. Doi navase ekathaye. They cannot sit together. So jab hum hote tab tu nahi. Ab tu hi main nahi. That they can either be you or they can be me, as in the ego me. So then you sit in the morning and then you realize the value of the Guru's wisdom that needs to hammer you on a daily basis. One day you might be feeling completely free from var, but then on another day you're filled with fears. And then the Guru will hammer you again. Nirpau japa, segal pau mita. And then you take a moment. Okay, let me let go of these fears. And if fear is something like in a negative sense, anxiety keeps creeping up for somebody like me, which it happens, what I realized is I need to revisit this lesson, this hammer, twice a day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, 5 times a day. We can't stay separated from that hammer. So this is Jat Pahara.
I've got a question.
Airan Mat Ved Hathiaar.
So you spoke about a true Guru and then obviously the hammer of Guru's Bani that then hits you in the face. So if we are on a path and we are reading Guru's Bani and we're all reading Guru's Bani and there's so many people out there that are doing this, why is it then that there are so many people in this world who have taken Amrit or haven't taken Amrit, irrelevant with this question, but they do radiate hatred and not very nice feelings and that why is that when they are projecting that this is who they are, but then in their actions or in their words they're creating this uncomfortableness?
So nowhere did the Guru say by just reading you're going to be liberated. Some of us come with a slightly more dense karma, this karmic makeup of our life experiences and how we have reacted to certain life. It might have been because of however life has shown up for us, we didn't have that awareness and we started to build up this dense wall of having some level of hatred, whatever it might be, something negative, and you've built that up. Imagine it's become very thick and dense. So now you turn up to the Guru, it might take more hammers for that person to break through. But if you are truly being hammered, because reading it on one level doesn't mean you are contemplating it. Bani birlo bichar si je ko Gurmukh hoye. There are very rare and few that are actually contemplating this word to take some time out. That's why everything is supposed to be a practice. But it might be because somebody is carrying something so dense, their practice towards taking a moment and letting go They might need 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour every day. But it could be instant, or it might take 6 months because they've got so much to break through and it keeps coming back up. So they need to visit that practice twice a day, 3, but it's got to be a conscious practice. It can't be passive. That's why Guru Sahib said, Bichar si. That's why then also the Guru says that, Sevak Sikh Pujan Sab Aveh, Sab Gaveh, Har Har Uttam Bani Gavea, Sunea, Tin Ka Har Thai Pave Jin Satgur Ki Agya Sat Sat Kar Mani. You've got to man it, you've got to embrace it and accept it, but accepting and taking that on could be a process. You need to then work on it. That's why when we do our morning meditation with the Sangat, that we get to these words and we'll say, okay, take a moment. And some of the people that have been holding on for certain resentments for a long period of their life, it will keep coming back up. But then they are saying there's been some progress now because we're visiting it consciously to let go of it. Meri har ho bepat jan kar ho sabai. So you're saying destroy this bifta that is inside of me, this wall and struggle that's built up inside of me, and jan karo, and fill me with this prem. But one person might need to do that 100 times more than the other person because they're not carrying such a thick wall of building that up from their life experiences. So are we really doing the work? No? That's why if we look at the Anand Sahib, when it says that Dukh, Rog, Santap, Uttare, Suni, Sachi Bani. So your dukh could be the resentment you're holding. That's dukh. That's your suffering. Rog, that will then become a disease. Santap, all your troubles in your head. You're stuck. Constant battles and conflict in your mind. That's the Santap. Uttare, Suni Sachi Bani. You heard the divine wisdom, but Suni here doesn't mean you just listen to it. Suni doesn't mean you just heard it. Suni means you've listened to it, meaning you're starting to now apply it, working on it, going through the process. So like when you say, if you ask one of the boys to fill the dishwasher, and if they've not done it, you'll often say to them, you're not listening to me. You mean, when you say to them, you're not listening to me, you meant for them that the action should have been done.
Yeah.
But the action to clear what you're talking about could take some time, and that's the tiraj. And what a lot of people do is that's the patience. What a lot of people do is they get in there, and they're thinking, we're not going to get there. So they stop. And then they build it all up again. And maybe they needed to do just that much more, but they couldn't see it. And then they stopped.
It'd be great if you could see it. You could physically have an image of...
There are nishaniya, obviously. And that's why you need sangat around you. Let's get through this pauri. Airan Mat Ved Hathiaar, Bhau, Khala, Agan, Taao. So, Bhau, Khala. Khala is now the bellows, what they use it's this instrument they use to get the fire going. So it creates the air to pump. You know what that is, yeah? But Guru Sahib said what you need the Khala, the bellows of loving fear. That you're being watched by the Divine Mother and you want to try and be more conscious in the way you are showing up and speaking, the way you are doing things. Is there anybody that you can think of as a physical presence in your life where you want to try and live more consciously with the way you speak or whatever it might be? Is there somebody in your physical presence when they're around you and you think, try and be a bit more, You just naturally are a bit more on it? Was it more of a thought, of a presence?
So there's two things that's come to mind. The first was when we were talking about loving fear, I thought about Gajan Babaji and about how being in their presence, I loved them so much. And you want to be so good. You want to please them, but you're also scared. And it's just a beautiful feeling. So I can relate to WhyGuru in that way. And then the second thing is, and I'm working on this, is the kids probably more mindful of how they receive things. So it might be that you're not speaking a certain way in your mind, but that doesn't mean that you're being reciprocated in the same way. And that's a very individual thing. So that's something I am working on. I would say I am better, but I've got a long way to go.
And I think that's so important to recognize, which you've just done, which takes, again, a lot of courage. And if you've got a destination and you're focused, then we will become aware of these things, that even though it's not done with bad intention, but it's to the way somebody has received something, but it still shows us that we can always do a little bit more, work on our tone, work on our delivery, and it's okay to be humble, to make those changes too.
Sometimes it's patience as well, because we're all on a journey in different ways. And, you know, being a mom of 3 kids and having all the duties that I have and everything that needs to be squeezed into one day is sometimes a lot. But then when you look at
Not sometimes.
All the time. And when you look at a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old and a 3-year-old, they are at the beginning of their life journey in their current bodies. So they are very much actually behaving quite rightly in where they are. So it's about me having patience with where they are in their life. And it's a constant battle, because you're constantly saying, okay, I'm actually going to step back now and I'm just going to get on with this element of it. But then you also think, well, actually life is about learning and teaching skills and responsibility, and not plating everything up for them, you know, because you want them to be good human beings and efficient in holding themselves. So patience is a big thing.
Yeah, comes back to the first line.
Yeah.
And it shows up in every part of our life. So Bhau, Khala, and that's been now explained beautifully through your experience with Baba Gajan Singh, Bhaiji. Agan, Taao, and then the actual Agan itself, the fire itself, that melts us down to really carve us, is the tap, is now the penance. But the penance for us is Gur Seva, Tapa, Sir Tap Sar, and yep, that's the one. Gur Seva, Tapa, Sir Tap Sar. And for us that's taking on a way of serving the Guru. And what comes to your mind first?
I thought about Langar Seva actually, because when you're serving 200,
Obviously,
50, 300 people, and you're standing over a pot, or you're standing over a tavi and you're making so many prasad, then we see this all the time. They actually fight over who's going to stand over the tavi, and it's ridiculous because you think, oh my God, you've gone tomato, you've gone red. Why would you do that? But it's really crazy because when they like the burning, because they like the sweat and they like that heat, and it almost like they feel like they're doing something. It's really crazy, but it made me think about that, and then the result is that you've got this beautiful prashadda in the end that's been heated up.
That's actually amazing that you just shared that. I would not have even have thought that that could be literally like a prop. That's like tap, like that's 100% a tap, like this. And I'm not fond of using the word penance because it could be taken in a completely different meaning and context as well, because this penance isn't about you trying to have your sins forgiven, but this is a tap in the house of Guru Nanak is a beautiful way of having your ego washed off you, taking any element of arrogance you might be holding on to. It's a way of getting that washed out, or like you said, or getting it sweated out. I didn't want to use the example of sweat because I don't want people to think that goes into the prashadda. but we can promise you it doesn't. We can promise you it doesn't. So we do have the hygiene police alert as well on the watch out. So it's so true that, you know, different ways of serving, and remember, it's a service because you're not thinking I'm going to get points for this. I'm going to get points so that one day I please somebody called God that gets me into a place called heaven. If you do have that as an idea, by the way, you're doing a great task. It's not the seva of, you're not serving the Guru at that point yet, but you might build up to it, because this isn't that game. The game of Sikhi is that it's selfless, and if anything makes your heart burst in joy is when you see the Sangat eating that langar. And it's just for the sake of making the langar, and that's it. That's it.
You know, it's actually, yes, it's hard work, but it's so enjoyable. I can't, like, and I'll just say this, that if you can find something that you truly enjoy, and you're not going to get a gain in any other way other than literally you are serving and you've got enjoyment from it. Like, langar is a beautiful way of doing it. Like, you can see, like, when you're cooking together, you're chopping together, you're making prashadde together, and then, you know, then you're seeing Sangat eat, and then they're coming back for seconds, and you think, wow, like, this is amazing. Like, you know, who else has got Guru Nanak's kitchen?
And that literally Sat Suhan, Sada Man Chao, ਜਦੋਂ ਮਨ ਖਿੜਦਾ ਆ, when your man is in this chao of blossom, through connecting to that Sat Suhan, when the Sangat is the Sat for you in that moment, is the embodiment of the truth for you in that moment, and then Suhan, and it's such a beautiful experience. Suhan means beautiful. Sada Man Chao. So, Bhau, Khala, Agan, Taao. And then, so this is now making us, this whole process that we're going through, that we've been talking through. Bhaanddaa Bhaao, Amrit Taal. And then it talks about having the bhaanddaa, then the melting pot. You would have, when you were making the gold, you would have had some sort of pot you used, like it's called a crucible or something, I think, right? And imagine now you're making, this is referring to specifically making gold coins and then carving and printing on those gold coins.
Never did that.
Yeah, you didn't do that. This
No.
this is the specific analogy that's being used here. But what it is that's actually now. I'm just going to read out the artha that we've done. We always read out one of the lines that we've been putting together. So if you were to make gold coins, make love the melting pot. So the pot is essential. So you could have done all of that work, but then you've got no pot to work in, to hold everything in. So you've got all of that. You've got your tap, you've got your hard work, your serving, you've got all of that. You've got your patience, but you don't have the pot. And the pot is Bhaanddaa Bhaao. Bhau is love. And that love is to look upon all with an equal vision and not define and discriminate in your mind. This is this person I'm going to treat differently because they are this caste. This person is this color. Without any of that. Look beyond all of that. And that's that love. You have one vision upon all. This warm one vision. The vision that is saying that I wish for your bala, I wish for your betterment. This benevolent heart is what love is. And without that, you can't hold anything. Everything will scatter. So that's the Bhaanddaa Bhaao, Amrit Taal, that the molten gold of the one's immortal name goes into. Then what is now carving you is the name. The Amrit here is the Naam. The Naam is when you praise, live in deep appreciation for Vaheguru's gifts. And as you appreciate Vaheguru's gifts, you are just saying Vaheguru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru. What's the first gift that comes to your mind to praise Vaheguru about?
I would say my body is working well. I have my legs, my hands that I cook with. Like, it's all in order. And there's so many that haven't got these things.
And that is one of the examples Guru Arjan Dev Ji uses in the Jai Prasad pauri. I don't remember the specific. Kanchan Arog Dehi, something on those lines. Jai Prasad Arog Kanchan Dehi. So look, even Guru Arjan Dev Ji uses that as one of the ways to praise Vaheguru, which is Naam. That's how you truly melt yourself and become your true essence. Jai Prasad Arog Kanchan Dehi. There you go. Arog means diseaseless. Kanchan is gold. Your dehi, your body is like that gold that is without any form of disease, meaning that might have a little, stuff going on here or there, but you're able to do your daily tasks, your work, serve, do all of this and experience. And that's something. Say Vah, Vah, Vah. That's Naam.
There's so many people that I know. I mean, if you look at even my immediate family, I'm very blessed. There's like arthritis, hip problems, knee problems. So I do generally think that, wow, like Vaheguru really like caring for me. Like, imagine if I had these issues and I've got all the sevas that I do, life would be not easy at all.
So much to just praise Vaheguru for. So, and then Gharreeai Shabad, Sachi Taksal. And then again, this is now saying this is how you Gharreeai Shabad. This is how you make that coin where you carved and you have that self-realization by all these ways that we've just gone through. So as now a summary and reminder is that what is it that molds us? It's that self-control from not getting lost in the pleasures of our senses, having remaining focused. And then a seva can help us remain focused, having some form of service to carry out. patience, which we spoke about, humbling spiritual knowledge. The Guru really does humble you when you really want to hold on to something. Guru saying, no, nirvair. So that knowledge, the loving fear, being watched by that presence, like a loving mother, that warmth, that penance, that service, love, and melting into the one's immortal name, into that one's naam, that gratitude, appreciation. You realize the divine word, the essence. Then you get to know yourself through this way. This is Guru Nanak's way. This is the true mint. This is how we come together and carve ourselves into our true nature, where the coin of self-realized beings are made. And we need the right sangat to help us to attain, the right company to help us to attain all of this. Jin Ko Nadar karam tinkar. Guru Nanak will always snatch away our ego and say, and remind us that if you do get to experience any of these things in your life, then this is the work of those who receive the glance of grace. This is just pure grace. Somehow you fell into place to receive that grace. And Nanak Nadaree, Nadar Nihal. Nanak Nadaree, Nadar Nihal. And Guru Nanak is saying that those who receive that glance of grace or mercy are exalted, meaning they just Vaheguru. They are literally just Vaheguru. Literally, they become Vaheguru. Jin har japya se har hoye. Har miliya kel ke lali. They get to meet that playful one. They become that very playful one. They were chanting that one and they became that one. There you have it. That's the 38th pauri of Jap Bani. Anything you'd like to say as we wrap up? Any message you'd like to give? You could give it direct to the Sangat in that camera if you feel wowed and you want to say something to them direct, or you could share something with myself, or we can go into a fateh.
No, it's been a really good session. Feels like I've had hardcore Sangat. Lots of reflection. For me, what really resonated.
I loved that you cried, by the way, a few times.
Bhau. I think it was towards the beginning when you were talking about
Dodo Rani's husband.
I think it was the WhyGurus in it, like everything.
Yeah.
That was like, yes, we know that, but I think they're just the explanation, and you get so lost in life and relationships and I remember talking to you about this a few days ago, that we waver and it's like now, and it's like you have to continuously bring yourself back to the now. It doesn't matter what happened, it doesn't matter what's going to happen.
Akal Murat.
Yeah, it's just now.
Mm.
And then nothing else matters. It doesn't matter who said what, when they said it, how they said it. Who cares? It's gone.
Yeah.
So that stuck out for me.
Amazing.
So thank you.
Thank you. You're an amazing guest. Thank you, Vaheguru. Vaheguru, thank you, Sangat Ji, for being a part of this beautiful journey, going through these pauriyan, these steps, which are the steps of our life, to know you, to know Vaheguru. So let's now continue this journey onto the Salok. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Please donate and help spread Guruji's message. Link is in the description below. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.